Hi, thanks for choosing to attend this Experience Report presentation. I'm Kevin Sutherland, and in the next 15 minutes or so, I hope to walk you through some of the things that I've learned over this past year, which have changed the way that I work, the way that I interact with people, and the way that I think overall about solving problems. And I hope that you can take something away from the things that I've learned as well. I do know that my future self will be on the call answering questions. So please fire your chats away as we go through it. I've never been in a hurricane or a tornado, but I understand that the derecho that came through the state of Iowa this past August was very similar. We experienced it from our downstairs office in the basement, and it was pretty terrifying seeing many branches being torn away from trees or entire trees being ripped up out of the ground or just completely cut in half by the wind. And needless to say, we had a lot of cleanup to do. Probably between our house and the neighbor's house, we had around between 30 to 35 mature trees that we had to clean up. And I half jokingly made a comment to my wife that, hey, we could build a log cabin out of all these down mature trees. And we kind of paused and looked at each other, and she was like, yes. So at that point, we knew we were in for a long haul making a log cabin. In my time with you today, I'll be exploring the comparisons between the log cabin project and two other efforts I had going on at work. The first of which was an agency dashboard project intended to provide data analytics capabilities to the public. The second of which was a technology refresh effort to take a system that was outdated and make it supported on current browsers. All of these efforts had three common things occurring. One, the construction process was unknown and the pace of delivery was uncertain. There were many factors that resulted in pivots in approach, and there was constant, continual, rapid learning throughout the process. However, there were also three things that I learned to do much better that I believe were contributed to the ultimate success of all three of these activities. The first is vision. Stating, and communicating a clear vision to everyone that's involved so that everyone understands where the end goal is. Trusting and empowering the people that are doing the work to deliver that vision and supporting those people with whatever they need to deliver that vision. And constantly inspecting and adapting the work that's being done to be able to become more effective as well as get closer to what the end vision is. Okay, so let's start with the log cabin vision. Once we had all of the logs piled up in the general location where we planned on building the cabin, we started thinking through designs, looking up plans, figuring out how to join the logs together, and realized fairly quickly we weren't going to be able to come up with a plan or a design without just starting the work, given how different every log was and how the lengths and shapes were varied in such a way. So we ended up landing on a high-level vision to guide us, and basically planned on just working through creating a cool space for the family to enjoy that's near nature. And we also came up with success criteria to guide and bound the work that we were doing, and wanted to make sure that whatever we created was weatherproof, had windows that could be used, slept two people, and we could stand up inside. So basically, that's really how we framed the work and all we had to go on before we started. With a clearly defined vision and definition of success, we started work. And we quickly came across our first challenge, which was getting all the bark off the logs. Looking it up, we found that the most commonly referenced method was to use an everyday axe. Hit the bark with the back of the axe, and then get it loose, strip it with the front of the axe. This process took about an hour for an 8-foot long log, and so we looked into a lot of different options for making this quicker. Bigger axes, smaller axes, this tool called a draw knife that has two handles and a blade in the middle that can be used to scrape the bark, and eventually landed on a tool that we found that we used for our basement, stripping the tile, this big floor stripper tool, and then finishing the log with the draw knife. The process took a lot more effort and exertion, but it was much quicker in the end. Another challenge we ran into was how to cut the notches out of each log so that they could overlap. We started with a chainsaw and cutting out the notch and then chopping out the inside with the axe, but experimented with some options there and invested in a DeWalt circular saw, which was able to set the blade and make much cleaner, faster cuts that could be chopped out much more quickly and at a consistent height and depth, making it even higher quality and much quicker at the end. The whole neighborhood wanted to help out, but we didn't have enough access to support everyone, so I went to Walmart to get some more tools. It turns out they have an alarm that goes off when you try to buy multiples of axes, so I found myself having to explain the need to buy so many axes at one time. Yeah, just building a log cabin out in the backyard, just, typical weekend. Fortunately, they did agree to sell me the axes, and I was able to get the tools to the team and support them with what they needed. I don't think we could be any happier with the result. Without any detailed planning and just a clear vision of what we were looking to accomplish, we pieced together and continued to improve upon the project, making it something that we'll really enjoy for quite a long time. We've already been using it for camping, for dinners, for hanging out with friends. It's been really nice. So let's talk about how this compares to the other software efforts, starting with the agency dashboard. We do not have data analytics capabilities in general or a great way to share information with the public. And this created frustration for the leadership team who had an expectation of being able to communicate effectively with our stakeholders. So a request was made and I was brought in to help deliver this data analytics capability. There were several challenges that were present when I was asked to join the team. First of all, there was no clear delivery structure in place, and all of the people that were expected to help deliver this effort were already fully engaged on other efforts. The scope was new and unknown to the people that were involved. Everyone had limited experience with the technology and with the approach. Requirements were provided by different business areas outside of a cohesive strategy or approach to deliver them. The schedule that was available was not sufficient to deliver everything that was being requested. And from a cultural standpoint, there was an expectation that requirements would be provided by business folks and those would be delivered as required. Business stakeholders had been working for 3 to 4 months to pull together a list of reporting requirements. By the time that a delivery request was made, they had pulled together roughly 30 to 35 different reports that they were hoping to have delivered within that next month. Looking at that list of reports felt very similar to looking down at that pile of logs earlier. It felt like we didn't have a good feel for the order that they should put in, how they fit together. So one of the things that we did is ask a couple questions about the why, what's the purpose for the dashboards, and who would be the benefiting stakeholders from the dashboards. So over the next 2 weeks, we worked with the leadership team to confirm that vision. And where we landed with the leadership team is a vision of sharing accurate data with the public with a goal of increasing that confidence in the quality of services being provided. There were several success criteria that we set up to frame this effort. One, the information should be clear and understandable to someone without detailed knowledge of the data. It should be easy to find on public websites. And it should be consistent. We shouldn't be able to go out and find contradictions to what we were publishing on other sites. With the vision and success criteria clarified, we realized there was a missing element to the dashboard that was needed to round out that vision. So we pulled in that new element into scope and mobilized a team around delivering it. With that team, we set the clear vision and communicated that to them. We set the success criteria, and we set an expectation that we were trusting them to deliver at that level and committed to supporting them with whatever they needed to deliver. And what the team did next was amazing. They pulled together, planned, and delivered in that next week a visualization meeting that vision and success criteria with partial capacity, without a history of working together previously in a new business area, in a new data domain, using new technology, deploying it to an external website requiring vendor coordination and presenting it in a session exceeding all expectations and by the due date, which was unexpected. What that really did is it built the trust with the leadership team, setting up the effort overall to continue forward and be successful ongoing. Following that initial delivery, the dashboard teams continued to iterate and deliver additional dashboard functionality, constantly evaluating and inspecting and improving along the way, culminating in a delivery in this last February to production with dashboards covering 8 different business domains now available for the public to see. And this has really changed how I look at just the overall process of requesting work from anyone, really at any level, from a vision setting level down to basic tasks, rather than asking somebody for what I want from them and how I want them to do it. I start now with why it's important to me, which I think is really the root of why this was so successful on the agency dashboard effort. All right, moving on to the technology refresh effort. The vision setting for this project was a lot more straightforward, essentially just to refresh the technology without disrupting the business. This effort faced many similar challenges. We also had limited business and technical knowledge available. Most of the people that understood the system in question had retired or moved on, and we didn't have the capacity, so a new subcontractor team was hired to do the work. Due to the amount of existing technical debt, changes really hadn't been made to the system in such a long time that there weren't standardized delivery processes for the system. And it was being funded at enhanced financial participation, resulting in some more stringent oversight requirements from a group that was anchored in waterfall. As with most new delivery teams, we started the effort with Scrum. We lined up the backlog, we pointed the stories, we had the sprint planning session and started sprinting. One small problem, this was a team that really wasn't very well suited for doing Scrum. So since we were empowering the team, we left it up to them to decide how they really wanted to execute, and they landed on moving to more of a Kanban execution approach. We continued to let the team iterate and make decisions about what worked best for them. I would say by the end of the project, they had changed just about every aspect of their delivery process, from defect management to automation to staffing to roles and responsibilities, all things that previously I would have considered part of my job to define and to roll out and to enforce with the team. But taking a step back and looking at this experience has completely changed how I view that as well. When the team owns it, even if they are doing something that I don't think is quite the right answer, they'll get there eventually, and they'll do it better and own it with more accountability than if I get involved and try to guide things myself. So, this has really changed how I look at that, and the result was also phenomenal. The team delivered the release with no defects, delighted the users, included enhancements that had not been previously considered, and really set the stage for the standard of team delivery at the organization overall. All right, I'm coming to the end of my time, so I'll leave you with 4 key points that I feel summarize what I learned over this past year. Vision over planning, trust over control, learning over knowing, and experimentation over following a plan. I recommend adhering to these principles whether you're building a log cabin or delivering a software project, whether it's a small software project or a large one. I hope you've all found this useful, and thank you.